Our guest has had a career that is just really extraordinary. He has performed opposite just about every great actor and worked with every great director during a career that is now into its 7th decade. A partial list of the directors are Michael Curtiz, Raoul Walsh, Billy Wilder, Fritz Lang, and Fred Zinnemann. Some of the actors include Charlie Chaplin, James Cagney, Betty Davis, Claude Rains, Charles Boyer, John Garfield, Errol Flynn, and Marlon Brando. He has written, directed, produced television shows and plays. He's authored a newspaper column. He is a great cook, and I'm here to tell you, he pours a great glass of wine, because he's my pal. Please welcome one of the great character actors of past and present who can still be seen on NBC's hit series Community, my pal, Mr. Richard Erdman. Tell us how you got the part.
I had been a kid actor at Warner Brothers, and then I grew up. And the parts were kind of few and far between. I didn't have a transitional part. And I got called in one day to meet Dick Powell, who had researched from being a song and dance man and had done Murder My Sweet. And anyhow, I was tremendously impressed, and they sent me into a room to meet Powell. Said, "You come with me." And I went into this room, and there was a desk, a chair, a typewriter, and a fellow typing away with a bottle of bourbon. And this was Bowers. And of course, Bowers was quite a drinker. And he looked up at me and he said, "When you read the script," he said, "don't make faces and stop acting, just say the words." and he meant, of course, he was right. I pretty well did that. But he was quite an impressive fellow. I got to know him very, very well.
Right.
Because well, we were just good friends. Great character. I'm trying to remember, typical of him. He had a friend who had a dog.
Right.
And this dog was kept in an apartment, and every afternoon the friend called the apartment, let the phone ring 8 times, so the dog would know that somebody cared for him. Anyhow, Bowers heard about this, and he went over and got into the apartment, and he waited with the dog, and at 4 o'clock, sure enough, here the phone rang, and he let it ring 7 times, and then he picked up the telephone, and he said, That's kind of typical of Bowers, I think.
Yes. Well, you also became great friends with the director and
Bobby Parrish.
And this was Bobby Parrish's first film.
Yeah.
He had been a great cutter for Ford.
That's right.
They were expendable and so forth. Oscar-winning editor.
That's right.
What was the
wonderful director? My favorite director I ever worked with.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was, as you can tell from this movie, if there's humor there, he found it.
Right.
In the strangest little places. This maybe the 5th time I've seen the movie, and it surprised me all the way. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Dick Powell, I think there's a tendency for people to forget what really an entertainment dynamo he was. He went from Warner Brothers, The Hoofer, then the Private Eye, and films like this, and then 5-star productions, television, Dick Powell Theater, and so forth. How did he treat you as someone, a kid actor, as you said, and he's this established star?
I read the script, and he said, "You know, you got the best part in the script." And I said, "I know it." I said, "I know it."
You didn't lack for confidence, did you?
No, I just knew it. And he said, "How can I help you?"
Doesn't get any better than that.
No.
Yeah.
And he was so helpful all the way.
Right.
Great gentleman he was, and I was amazed at how well he moves. Did you watch him in this movie?
Yes, he just
wow,
glided.
He moves around. He sure does.
He just glided. And history has recorded that the entire movie was shot like in 22 days, and a little bit at National General, but most of it was, I mean, the bar was right up there at Angel's Flight and all around downtown.
Just above Union Station there, where we shot most of it.
Exactly.
filthy, dirty J. Adler.
Let's talk a little bit. I mean, you have the legendary Adler family, and then of course you had Luther, one of the great actors, and
Right.
Stella, one of the great acting teachers.
Right.
And then there's Jay, who always seems to play a dirt bag or something of that type. I mean, this was a prototypical Adler role. What was Jay Adler like?
He was a dear little fellow,
Yeah.
runny, nasty little guy. What can you say? That's the way he described Jay.
Yeah. Yeah, you made another film with him, Saddle, I think it was Saddle to
Saddle to Win.
Saddle to
That's right.
Win.
And anyhow, he came down and we shot the whole thing on location near Canyon City, Colorado.
Right.
And it was a great experience because Parrish directed it.
Right, right. Now, let's back up a little bit more. You had come out here from first, you were born in Oklahoma, you went to Colorado, and you came to Hollywood in 1940?
42, 41, I guess it was.
41.
Yeah.
And how does a kid with a paper route end up getting a contract at Warner Brothers?
Well, first off, there was a drama coach in Colorado Springs, Colorado, named Newton Winburn, who I'd done a play, I'd done Cyrano de Bergerac in high school, pretty ambitious kid. And he called my mother up and said, take him to Hollywood, he's going to be in the movies. And she packed everything, sold everything we had, and we came to Los Angeles.
Oh my God.
And I went to Hollywood High School and did a play there, and next thing I knew, I was called to go. My best friend Albert Band was out at Warner Brothers and called me. He said, get out here, I've got you an agent, get out here now. And that afternoon they took me in and they sat me down in an office and gave me a script to read. And I finished it, and Sally Biano and the other casting director came around and said, what do you think? I said, I think it's wonderful, it's the best part. And they said, well, sit and wait. And I waited, and suddenly the door opened, and this man who looked like a prune came out, and screaming and yelling and saying, where is he, bums, acting bum. And so everybody was a bum.
Yeah.
And this was Michael Curtiz, who was a demon, but was my angel, because he took one look and he said, Scooper baby, I love you. He said, calling the Warner, sign Kitty now. And they signed me.
So you were signed to a 7-year contract,
That's
just
right.
like that.
That's
My
right.
God.
That's how that
And so, in those days, the studio was the system. What was it like going to the University of Warner Brothers as a kid out of high school?
Poor kids today have no opportunity like that. If you're a contract player there, first off, you got fairly decent money. You had a dressing room you could move into. I mean, and live there. It was marvelous. You got lessons and everything you could possibly want. Singing, dancing, acting, everything.
Horse
the best
riding,
teachers, boxing,
Yeah.
wrestling. You had the best teachers if you're a contract player. It was a dream. The kids nowadays don't have that.
Right.
There are no contract players anymore.
Right.
You go in, you do your 2 bits, and you're out of there. I've been very lucky.
Yeah.
It's been a long, long career.
So what was it like for a kid out of high school to be standing there ringing the doorbell, Mr. Skeffington, and the door opens and Claude Rains is there?
I almost fainted. It was the first thing. It was the first thing I said. I went up, knocked on this door, and here's Claude Rains. And I said, telegram for Mrs. Fanny Skeffington from the War Department. That was it.
You were off and running.
Yeah, right.
And
she went, the next day I heard, she went all over the studio, Davis did, saying, we've got a wonderful contract player here, blah, 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 Erdman. Which,
Betty Davis talked you up.
Yeah, she was somebody.
Yeah. So there was really a special group there, Betty Davis, Claude Rains, Sidney Greenstreet.
Well, there were
Peter
37
Lorre.
contract players there at one point when I counted. Yeah.
My God. And you were in a real, they kept you busy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, working movies.
I was there 3.5 years, and I was in, I think, 41 movies.
Oh my God.